All right, let's jump right in. When you think about places that are super critical to the United States, you probably think of big global capitals, right? Or maybe some oil-rich country. But what if one of the most important spots on the globe for the US is actually a massive icy island way up in the North Atlantic? Yep, we're talking about Greenland. It seems so far away, but trust me, its importance is absolutely off the charts.
So to get a handle on just how big this place is, picture Texas. Got it? Now imagine an island more than 3 times that size, and almost the whole thing is covered in this giant sheet of ice. That's Greenland for you. It's this immense, barely populated landscape that, as it turns out, carries some serious strategic weight. Which of course brings us to the big question here. Why? Why on earth is this frozen land so incredibly vital to the USA? Well, the answer isn't just one simple thing. It's this perfect storm of geography, resources, science, and, you guessed it, national security.
Okay, so let's start with the most basic thing, its location. You know how in real estate they say location, location, location? Well, it's pretty much the same thing in geopolitics. And Greenland's spot on the map, it's its first and maybe its most powerful asset.
Just look at where it is. It sits perfectly between North America and Europe. And now, as the Arctic ice is melting, these brand new, much faster shipping routes are opening up. We're talking routes that could slash weeks off of travel time. And Greenland is sitting right there with a front row seat. That makes it a totally ideal spot for monitoring all that future trade, and for military surveillance, keeping a close watch on the skies and the seas.
But Greenland's importance isn't just about what you can see on the surface. Nope. Lying underneath all that ice is an unbelievable treasure trove of natural resources.
And we're talking about something very specific here, rare earth metals. Now, you hear that term thrown around a lot, but what does it actually mean? Well, these are a group of elements that are, and I mean this literally, essential for the high-tech world we live in. They are the secret sauce in almost all of our modern technology. And this really shows you how critical they are. The smartphone you're probably holding, the computer you work on, they just don't work without these metals. Same goes for the powerful magnets inside electric vehicles and those giant wind turbines. Oh, and also rockets, satellites, and some of the most advanced defense systems out there. Greenland has massive, untouched reserves of this stuff, so for a country like the US, making sure there's access to them is a huge deal.
So, beyond the strategy and the resources, Greenland has another major role to play. Think of it as the world's climate laboratory. It's a bellwether for the health of our entire planet. And, what happens in Greenland definitely doesn't stay in Greenland.
Here's the chain of events, and it's pretty straightforward. Greenland's gigantic ice sheets are melting faster and faster. All that meltwater has to go somewhere, right? It flows straight into the ocean, and that causes global sea levels to rise. This isn't some abstract, far-off problem. It directly leads to a greater threat of flooding and more powerful storms for coastal communities all over the world, including right here in the United States.
So, you take the new shipping lanes, the incredibly valuable resources, and the dramatic climate shifts. You put it all together, and the Arctic is quickly turning into a high-stakes geopolitical chessboard. And you better believe Greenland is a major piece in that game.
So, who's playing? Well, first you have Denmark, since Greenland is technically part of the Kingdom of Denmark. They're focused on their sovereignty and their partnership with the US. Then you have Russia, which is busy building up its military presence across the Arctic. And you can't forget China, which is pouring money into resources and calling it a polar Silk Road. So for the US, staying deeply involved in Greenland is absolutely essential to keep its influence and balance out these other major powers.
And that brings us to what might be the most direct, most critical reason of all for why Greenland is so important to the USA. It's a defense outpost. This is America's early warning system. It's our eyes in the north.
At the very heart of this is Thule Air Base. This is the northernmost military base that the United States has, period. And its location in Greenland makes it totally irreplaceable. It's the nerve center for detecting missile threats and for watching everything that's happening up in space. And just think about what that really means. From this one single spot, the US military can track intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, which gives the country precious warning time if there's ever an attack. It's also monitoring thousands of satellites and just random pieces of space junk to protect our critical assets in orbit. Seriously, its role in national security is just impossible to overstate.
So let's just do a quick recap of the 5 pillars here. First, you've got its amazing strategic location overlooking the whole Arctic. Second, that treasure trove of natural resources. Third, its role as a vital source of climate data. Fourth, its importance as a leverage point in the geopolitical game. And last but not least, its absolutely indispensable role in military defense thanks to Thule Air Base.
So, the next time you see Greenland on a map, don't just see a big white patch of ice. See a critical hub of strategy, economics, and science. And it leaves us with a really big question for the decades to come. As that Arctic ice keeps melting and the region opens up like never before, who is going to be there to shape its future?